how will the world change in future and what is the socio-ecological transition in there? The first distinction what we did was that we looked how will the global situation change, and then we looked how can Europe respond to it. So on the global situation, we looked at into mega trends. So what are the big changes that are going on the globe? And we focused on the one hand on biophysical changes in the conditions. And so this was the energy transition, that was a kind of resource scarcity that might occur in the future. And it was the climate change, so impacts that stem from a changing climate. That was one set. The other set is we looked into socio-political changes that might occur. And so the demographic transition was a very important one, since this is very important for the socio-ecological transition. The more people, the more resource consumption, and if this changes, other options might occur for response. So that was one big issue. Another one was the shifting geopolitical situation from a more Western-centered or more uni-centered to a multipolar world. So that was the third issue, and the second issue. And the third issue was about looking into big technological changes that occur with the IC transition, so into information and communication technologies that changes our world rapidly, and that might be a problem or it might be a huge opportunity for future options. The first thing what we realized is, when we look into the future, it's very uncertain at what time what events will emerge, but it's less uncertain that things will emerge. So just to mention an example, if we look into the issue of peak something, yeah, there are several issues where we know peak will occur, and there's a huge dispute: has it happened already, or will it happen in future? So a huge uncertainty about the time horizon. Second, what we found out, based on summary of a lot of literature and our own research we do in this field, is there is not something like a business as usual scenario. So I mean business as usual in that way that everything will go on like it went on in the past. There might be huge disruptions in the future if there is no response in policies. So that was a frustrating insight, but I think something that is a very important one. If you take this seriously, this means that there needs to be a substantial degrowth in biophysical activities of societies. So we need to reduce our material turnover that in a substantial way. This was a quite disillusioning insight. And then, of course, we focused on the issue of labor, and with labor we realized there will be a huge effect on labor. I mean, the past transitions we had, especially in the energy transitions, had huge impacts on labor in the past, and we assume that if we really have to step out to a far degree from the use of fossil fuels in our economies, this will have a big impact on labor as well. The one assumption, I mean, it's more speculations than really something that you can test and prove. But the one assumption is that after decades of a declining share of physical activity in our labor, we assume there will be more physical activity in our daily lives in future again. And we saw that as an opportunity for our health conditions as well, since in many industrialized countries, obesity becomes more and more a problem. So maybe it's not so bad, yeah. And another issue is that due to the demographic trend, to the demographic transition that's going on, more and more empathy will be required in jobs. So there will be more and more jobs that where people have to look for for people who are in need and maybe the growing old part of population. So empathy is a new issue that comes up, and the empathy might be related to a higher need of communication in society, as it was in the last 10, 20 years as well, uh, is coming up, and this requires more empathy. So the ability to anticipate other people's actions in order to have an adequate response. I want to summarize three policy implications on a quite abstract level, but I think that is, according to our research, these are key issues. Uh, so the first one, a very simple one, but the future is not an extrapolation of the past. That is a very important issue that we have to be very skeptical when we design future political responses, that we just do it in the way that we look back and look what was in the past, we do the same. Yeah. So there might be more necessary to have more flexibility on that issue. The second is there's a long-standing issue uh, of different policy domains to work together in several fields of policy making, and there was not much progress on that issue. And I think the future challenges that come will really require a change in this. There needs to be a kind of good, effective answer to that issue, how different policy domains work together in addressing these quite complex challenges that are not organized along the boundaries of departments of the policy institutions. So it's really required to make a change here. And the third one, to all what we have seen in looking into that issue and the mega trends and the response strategies, it seems likely that a more decisive approach of political institutions will be required. So this means that political institutions might take sometimes decisions that are not in the mainstream of societies, and that makes up the new issue, how to get support for these kind of new decisions, or these more decisive decisions, or these, I would say, brave decisions.